have an age difference. We have life differences.
This is how you should live your life.
I got the faith, because to get the faith...
Got it. Well, let's jump into this.
This is the Old School, New School podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1...
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Old School, New School podcast. I am Will Charles Egan.
Chris
and
Meekins.
As always,
Chris
Meekins.
They say I have a radio voice, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I've been told that I have a radio voice as well.
Probably because we speak into the microphone.
We have a knack for just talking. I've been told by a couple of people that I have a radio voice, but who knows? If you like the content that we are making.
And if you'd like to offer him a job as a radio
if
host.
you wanna, please hit the subscribe button. There's a little button up in the corner above Chris's head if you're watching on YouTube here. You can go ahead and subscribe. Give us a little help. Help us out.
Help a brother out.
Help a brother out. Please, we need it.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk a little bit about this book here.
Draw the Circle.
Draw the Circle.
One of my go-tos.
Mm-hmm.
I probably, like I was telling Will, probably 10 times gone through that book. It's just a 40-day prayer time with Matt Batterson. He's a great writer. But first, tell me about this. After last week, we talked about money.
Yes.
Money,
finances.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
So you found a job?
I did find a new job. I'm no longer going to be complaining about my server job anymore on this podcast. Yeah, I'm going to be working at a company called LifeSurge. It is a Christian company, which is really cool. They have a ton of big conferences that they do across the United States. Their whole thing is impacting the market for, the kingdom of God. So they teach courses after these conferences if you want to sign up on stock market trading, on real estate and things like that. And it's all about leaving Christian impact on these aspects of, the financial world.
Okay.
And again, inviting God into your finances. And here we are talking about it. And I'm going into that field. So I'd be doing customer service and sales. It was really cool. I was talking to one of my friends that works there, and she was, really instrumental in getting me hired there. And I was like, it's going to be a desk job, which is going to be new for me, and it's going to kind of suck.
What are friends for, man?
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm not really built. I don't know if you could tell for a desk job. I mean, I'm just massive. I don't fit in a lot of things.
You're huge.
Right. Oh, thank you very much. And I'm very physical and active, and I don't like to sit for long periods of time. So it's like, man, I really wish that they were like standing desks or something. She goes, they are. Every single desk there is a standing. I'm like, you're kidding.
Wow.
I had been thinking about this for a few days. Total God thing. It was a total divine appointment.
Okay, folks, we're talking to a guy that probably hasn't had a lot of jobs. So,
well, they've been part-time jobs.
Number one requirement for his new job.
I need a standing desk.
I don't know about medical. I don't know about dental. I don't know about my pay. But I would like a standing desk. Wow, this is amazing. I'll take the job.
Yeah, right. Priorities, right? Clearly, I've never done. They do offer benefits and things, which is neat. But standing desk, come on.
Come on, man. And then it adjusts, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you can sit in it. You can push a button, and then it raises, and you can stand. So, because I'm active, I need to move around. So
I'm going to have to get one just because the way my back is.
I
said, as soon as I said, I'm fine once I get up and move, like maybe a minute, and then I'm golden. But the first minute is like pain.
Oh yeah. So this will be a total God.
Okay,
send.
and we had a conversation. This is for all you people that think I don't shave. I don't. Mm-hmm. This is from Monday. Yeah,
That's from Monday?
Sunday night.
Are you serious?
This is Sunday. I shaved on Sunday. It could even have been Saturday.
Really?
I might have shaved on Saturday for church on Sunday.
That's like 3 days for me. Is that what you have? Yeah. But I'm super patchy.
I've never been able to grow a beard. I mean, this
really?
is it. I mean, it grows in, and now it grows in white. So my wife's like, you look like a homeless old man.
So maybe not.
So Will,
I was going to say,
tell us what you're doing on this whole facial Irish hair thing.
Yeah, right. Maybe you should try a derma roller, Chris, if you want a full beard.
Never heard of derma roller.
It's a girl thing for sure, but it's like this little it's this
so
roller
girls
thing.
Want to grow a beard now?
Well, it's one of those, facial care products where men are just like, I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's this little miniature roller that you put on your face, and it's got these tiny microscopic 1/4 millimeter needles. And yeah, it's like 540 tiny needles. So it's kind of like, when you sit on a bed of nails, you don't feel any of it.
I know.
Right.
It happens to me all the time.
Yeah. When you sit on a bed of nails all the time, but you roll this back and forth in your face and it leaves these tiny, tiny microscopic punctures that don't draw blood or anything. It's just enough to kind of stimulate hair follicle growth so that I could have a fuller beard, because every single time that somebody guesses my age, this happened to me yesterday with 3 separate people at work. Everybody thinks I look 19 years old.
Oh, that's horrible.
Because when I was a teenager, everybody thought I looked like I was in my 20s, and now it's flipped for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Well, because you're so tall when you were younger.
I guess that must have been it. But I'm still the same height.
Yeah, I know, but you're at least don't look like you're 15.
Right. Well, at least thank God. Because I was a bit of a late bloomer, so I always looked really young, which I guess is nice. When I get older, I'll still look a little younger. But I want to be a man, So I'm trying to grow facial hair so I don't look like a teenager anymore.
Well, but then you have to, wipe the mustard out. And
I just want, like stubble, kind of like what you have, but fuller and with some color.
Like the guys on the Hallmark Channel.
Yes, exactly. I want to look.
There's I think there's a special blade that it just gets close, right?
Yeah, there's little trimmers that can do half, quarter. I don't even know what the measurement is, but enough to where it's just stubble, and you could just kind of leave it a little bit.
So look,
you left your ringer on.
I left my ringer on.
That is so unprofessional.
So we'll be watching one of those Hallmark movies, and my wife will say, I'll say, is that a good guy? Is that guy a good-looking guy? And she's like, oh, he's not bad. I go, well, then why can't, if you think he's good-looking, see, then why can't I have stubble there too? And she's like, well, because you are old.
Because you are old.
You have white.
Yeah, right. White stubble.
Hair. And I didn't say you were handsome. I just said that guy was good looking.
Thank you, wife.
But
Jeez.
yeah, I have never been able to grow a beard. So we'll pray that in.
Thank you.
Let's ask God's blessing on that.
Yeah, right, for facial hair.
God, bless my life, enlarge my territory, and
enlarge my beard.
Make me, because your dad has a full beard, right?
Yes, yeah, but I don't know. My mom's adopted, so we don't even know what her father's facial hair looked like. So maybe it's from her side.
Here's what's going to happen: you're going to grow it. You're going to meet a girl, and she's going to go,
you should trim your beard.
You should cut that thing off because it tickles me when you kiss me. No. Like this takes me how many holes I've punched into my face.
Right. Yeah.
To get this.
It was all this effort and all this money spent.
So let's talk real quick on last week's episode, financial.
Right. Financial blessings.
What did you think of that? I mean,
I thought it was good. I thought we got, it was nuggets for sure. It was a 45-minute episode, but it wasn't like a full-on sermon or a college class on finances. But I think it was good and there was a couple of topics that he touched on specifically with giving, because when it comes to our own personal finances, like you had said, is it legal for Christians to be wealthy? You'd think it's like, well, Jesus wasn't wealthy. How do we figure that out? So I think it's good to kind of touch first on the aspect of giving, and with what Dan brought up, giving to the orphans and widows, people in need. I think that's a great, foundation in your own personal walk with your money, because everybody has money and everybody's got to do something with it. And if God truly wants to be in every aspect of our life, what do we do with our money?
But isn't there a group of people, I certainly wouldn't have said this in front of me.
He's going to hear this and go, excuse me?
Wait a minute. Isn't there a group of people that are like, yeah, but the Bible's still true today, and God will provide for you when you're old. And I mean, I believe that. Yeah. But I also believe that you need to do your part.
Yeah, absolutely.
In preparing for that.
Right. There's the extreme.
Usually those are people that don't have anything to say. So
right.
They're just judging you because you do.
Yeah, because you do. Yeah. They got FOMO, fear of missing out. But I think that is
FOMO.
Yeah. Again, that's a new school term you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, because it's the first time I've ever heard it.
Yeah. See, there you go. I think there's a thing with extremes where some people will take their faith to an extreme where it's like, I'm gonna just sit here and do nothing but pray and expect God to provide. Or there is the, I'm gonna just do everything on my own. It's like, how do you, like Christian Science, their whole thing is, we don't need medicine, we can pray the cancer way. And it's like, well, you got to find a balance, right? Yeah. So there's a part of it where it is, getting up early and putting in your 10,000 hours and actually making a conceited effort to work. And then another part of it is, God's divine appointments and his timing and things that are outside of our control. So It's back and forth. And part of what's really cool with the Christian walk is you can hear other people's stories of how they did it and use that to impact your life.
That's an amazing transition.
So Chris wanted to talk, now that we're 10 minutes in, Chris wanted to talk about this is like a devotional book, correct?
It's a 40-day prayer challenge. Yeah. First, the book is called Draw the Circle, by Matt Batterson. But this is the prayer. And it talks about this guy, Hani, that prayed for rain. And he drew the circle around and until it rained. And then it like drizzled. And he's like, nah, not good enough, God. Mm-hmm. I'm praying for such a rain that whatever.
Yeah.
And so this talks about Hani.
Right.
Not Jabez.
Not Jabez. Another guy in the Old Testament.
And so we've gone through this book, like I said, a number of times when you're like, I just need to get my mind right.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, do you ever get in a place where you're like, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, but I just need to get my mind right because I just feel like something's not right.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I'm in a small group right now with Jordan Breon. We've had him on the podcast, and we're doing a group about, how to be a man and how not to kind of live in the shadow, because we're called to live the Christian life. And so a lot of the times we tell ourselves these lies and we get in this headspace that's not godly, and it just becomes, something you're kind of content with just these, whether you get anxious about things, whether you get nervous about things. It's like, yeah, I know it, but I have a hard time kind of believing it for myself. It's the idea of this book that we're reading. It's called it's Fighting the Shadow, and it's living in the eclipse and how to get out of the eclipse. There's something that's blocking between you and the light of God, and it's like, how do you move that out of the way, right? And so the whole idea is you can know things, right? But there's still something that's deep-seated inside yourself that you need to move out of the way because it's blocking the light of God. And it can just become something like apathy, or even like striving for ambition, or, feeling like everything's futile, or, addictions or something like that. These are things that get in the way between you and God. And when you hear other people's testimonies, when you're with a group of other men, when you've got a mentor figure, you hear these other stories, and the power of the testimony and the power of doing the Christian life with other people is they can help you move the thing out of the way that's blocking the light. And that's, whatever that looks like. For me, like, I got this new job, and I got really, because I'm very task oriented and very organized.
Okay.
I got nervous because I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to change my whole schedule. I'm going to have to reorganize everything.
And my God.
I know,
I'm
right?
going to have to get up at 8 in the morning.
7 a.m. probably. But here I am. I'm thinking like, I know that everything's going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. But I couldn't get this feeling out of me that was like, this is going to suck. This is going to suck.
Well, you're moving from like total freedom.
Right. Yeah.
For the last 19 years? You're 19 years old?
Yeah. This is why I need to grow facial hair. 22.
The last 22 years of doing pretty much whatever.
Pretty much whatever.
And if I don't like it, I'll just quit.
Yeah.
To a job now that's like
now you have responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's literally 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here I am.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. Adult?
Adulthood is finally, I think this is like the last nail in the coffin of adulthood for me. I'm living on my own.
Oh, no.
No?
No, I had in a moment
okay.
yesterday. I had to be an adult.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You still, well, I mean, like this
My wife wants me to clean up after myself. I mean, that's a bunch of...
Was that like the first time you've ever done that?
No.
Well, because I'm saying this is the first time I'm doing something like this. This might be the last thing. It's like, all right, now I'm officially an old man.
Now I'm
right? Because some middle schooler called me old the other day, and that still haunts me.
So you're a lot older than us.
See, I'm young looking. People call me old. I don't know what I am, but
we had this guy give a testimony on Saturday, and he's like 23. Charlie,
yeah.
And he was talking about this other guy, his friend. He's like, I mean, I've got people a lot older in my life, and the guy's like 36, and he's like, wait a minute, and we're sitting with a bunch of 60-year-olds. He's like, wait a minute, I'm not older yet. These guys are older. It's always like, I made a mistake. Okay, stop. So they'll always have a testimony. So you're talking about. So today we were talking. Get a testimony. One of the things in my Baller for Jesus was a story of goodness, Psalm 27:13.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, and then also be a bright light. Proverbs 4:18. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. And I think that there's a place that we as a people, we as a person, wanting to influence the world. I mean, there's people like, I don't want to influence the world. And I'm like, well, okay, to be a representative of God.
Yeah.
Like, what are you representative? I mean, I know some people that they don't have nothing good to say.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I went to that baseball game. Yeah, that guy did strike out, and I went to go see him. I'm like,
you were at a baseball game.
You won like 25-0.
Yeah.
It was a grand slam and whatever.
Right.
No.
Glass half empty.
The glass like 20. Yeah.
The glass is empty. Right.
So we were reading about this testimony, and tell me about that. So you were just talking about that, having a testimony of.
Yeah. One of the things in this day specifically is day 32. The title's literally Get a Testimony. And one of the key points here in the beginning is there's a difference between hearing a story and having a story of your own. And there's a one line in here that was really like, that's a bold statement. It was hearing a secondhand story is just as bad as getting secondhand smoke. I was like, what? And what it's trying to say here is it can be dangerous to just hear other stories and other people's experiences as opposed to hearing it yourself. Because I know a couple of people that have stepped away from the faith because they weren't experiencing God for themselves.
They've got a story about everybody.
Yes.
But it's like, well,
nothing happened.
What about you?
Yes, exactly. And it's like you got to experience things on your own. So this is like, go get a testimony. It's like, well, how do you do that, Chris? How do you go and get a testimony?
By a car wash.
You
got plenty of testimonies, man.
Force yourself into a situation where you'll need God. Well, there you go.
God wants to join up with. Is that how'd she say it? How did that
wants to link up. Wants to do life with.
Yeah, he wants to do life with you, and he wants. We believe. I believe. God wants to show you. Yeah. How good he is to you. I'll turn to his verse in a minute, but I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to turn to it. There it is. No, I'm just joking.
Wouldn't it be wild?
Wouldn't that be
Hosea 9:4? If that just was, God would do something like that.
God's funny.
And there would be a testimony story to that.
So he wants you to experience his goodness, so that you have a word in season.
Yep.
And there'll be, if we go back in time, I have plenty of testimonies. I have plenty at the fire station where I really saw God working.
Yeah. I
have plenty at my home where we saw God working. I have plenty at this car wash that we see God's doing a thing. Already. I mean, he brought us a guy, the assistant manager, that's turned out to be amazing.
Perfect.
And does work that we didn't even expect him to do. Just things like that,
nice. Which
I'm a bad employee. Well, he's actually doing what.
Yeah, the status quo for him is above and beyond for you.
Above and beyond. Yeah,
right.
That's like not in my DNA.
No.
So, but there's always testimonies. It's if you identify them. So, one of the great testimonies in the last few years is that my son. We were in a child custody with my grandson.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. I mean, it was out of wedlock, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But my son wanted to be the father, but she decided that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she did all these false accusations.
Oh, boy.
And we were like, oh, my gosh, is this what's really happening?
Yeah.
And she ended up even making false police reports. He ended up going to jail.
Really?
And it was like,
holy cow, dude.
this is not true. Although when they're talking to you and you have a son that's in college, you're like, he's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But, in faith, you're like, okay, I believe him. He's my son. I believe what he's going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we went through this process, and it went from him being in jail to us going, well, we're just trying to get to be able to see our grandson.
Right.
Him being able to see it. And he was paying 100% of what you could pay for child support out of the box.
Yep.
And he would see, we were just looking for every other weekend on Wednesday and every other weekend.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And it wasn't, it was looking bad.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up filing these charges. Turned out to be not true.
Goodness.
Well, it went on for 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
At 2 to 3 lawyers at any given time.
Yep.
Ankle bracelets, all this stuff. Because
Really?
in the world that we live in, they believe the girl
Sure.
first.
Yeah.
I don't mean that bad, but it's just
Yeah.
what
There are,
it is.
and there are certain circumstances.
And she said
like
things
yours.
that would be like, well, if it's true, then he needs an ankle bracelet.
Right.
So anyway, it moved all the way from that, him not seeing it, is that he's the guardian.
Nice.
She has limited custody,
Right.
and she pays him.
She pays him.
Yeah, because everything she said was untrue, everything. But it took, like I said, it was at least 5 years.
Right.
Here's the other part. So we had prayed. That's where she has another one of those that she prayed through during that time multiple times. And it's all circled and underlined and everything like that. So, we're talking buku bucks in lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
Buku. And he doesn't have any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here we're fighting for a grandson.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had money.
Sure.
God in his sovereignty during that time.
Yeah.
I sell real estate. I sold real estate up in Ohio, and God's blessed me in that. And then I sell real estate still down here. But during that time, every time a lawyer bill would come in, I had sold another house, and we were able to pay the lawyer fees.
Wow.
It was 6-figure stuff.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah. Thank God that you got through that.
But the testimony is like, okay, God, we're believing that we're doing the right thing. Justice is not cheap.
No, God,
just want to say. I mean, that's another.
Don't break the law.
We should, don't break law.
Yeah.
And if you do break law, ask for a lawyer. I saw that on Cops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask for a lawyer, or 48 hours. You're like,
yes.
Ask for a lawyer, and they're like, well, if you tell us the truth right now, it will save everybody.
Give me a lawyer.
Get me a lawyer.
I don't want to tell on myself.
Well, it's not cheap. And it was in the 6 digit. And so, but God had provided every step of the way.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the case. Then the lawyer is like, I think we should sue the city for falsely arresting you because of all the stuff they did. And we got like half of that back.
Wow. There you go.
Which is amazing.
God's divine providence.
And so I just have story after story like that.
Sure.
But that's when you're meeting with someone and they're going through a rough time with one of their kids or their teenagers, and you're like, hey, listen, I just want to tell you that God will provide as you are faithful to him.
Yeah.
You have to step into him. I want to say he does. He did for me.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not. It's not a name and claim it. Like, hey, God, I'm going to sue Will for everything he's got, and I'm asking that you would provide.
I'm going to manifest it. He's going to have no money left.
What about you? Is there any testimonies?
Well, that's really the really important part. Is what it talks about in here is the power of the testimony helps build up the body of the church. Because you want to be sure that everybody believes, right, in the miracles of God. Because those, it says here, those testimonies double as prophecies. So maybe somebody hears your testimony and says, well, I'm having an issue with my own kids. So maybe because God provided for you, he can provide for me.
And it goes down this whole path. It's my son, Matt. And he was like, people at our church were like, hey, we'd really like if Matt didn't come to
Really?
high school group because he's like really a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what do you mean?
I'm an elder at the church, and my son's getting kicked out of youth
Right.
group.
Yeah.
And so it was a nightmare. He's turned out to be an amazing father. He's got 3 kids. I mean, he's amazing. It's like all my kids. My other son turned out to be an amazing father. I mean, it must have skipped a generation, kind of like your beard.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the facial hair isn't like this. Yeah.
But you're able to. So even like at the church up there in Ohio, people are like, I see Matt walking around here. Yeah. And it's such a blessing. I'm like, I know. And you know what happened. Oh, I know what's happened to him. And you guys were faithful. And God took care of you. And God fixed Matt. Because, I mean, as much as we tried to fix Matt. And, I mean, there's people they'll still come up. We'll go up and visit them. And they'll say, I'm just reminding myself, if God can fix Matt, he can fix my kid.
That's exactly it. If he can fix this, he can fix me.
Yeah.
You know, I have a couple of stories like that. You know, I'm not as wise or as experienced as you are.
Yes, you are. You're even more.
I'm 22 years old. I haven't had as much happen as you have, but I have this one. I definitely say the one that jumps to mind initially. I think I've told it on the podcast before. I was in a youth camp, and there was one girl that was, we had 4 different teams. I was the red team. There was the orange. The red team ended up winning, let me just say.
Just saying.
We were the best. So there was volleyball and tag and all that stuff, and we ended up winning, but on our team, there was this girl who was wheelchair bound, and she had been in this wheelchair for 6 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she was 19 years old. She was having these seizures every single day and was not able to walk because of this ailment, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so, during her time there, at the trip, she'd been telling, some of her friends, I just don't want to do this anymore. This is so tiring. I can't believe that I'm stuck in this wheelchair. And it's just such an awful situation. We even have a group photo, and there she is sitting in a wheelchair. But the very next day, what we did is, it was literally like 30 minutes before the buses were about to leave.
Okay.
Like, we were going to leave. But Jordan Becknell was there, and he was leading worship, and he was leading the MC. We were sharing testimonies and things, and it was like, all right, it's time to go. But Jordan looked over, and he sees this girl in her wheelchair, and Jordan says, I have crazy enough faith to believe that we can pray for you right now. And so we're like, oh, we're going to do this? And it was literally like, we have to go.
Which is scary.
Yes.
Which is scary because you're like, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? If this doesn't take you out.
Exactly. It's going to be even more disappointing. Yeah. Right. And so we're sitting here like, oh man, okay, here we go. But we felt the boldness, we felt the faith. And so every single person in the room laid hands on her or put hands on another person's shoulder. So we're all praying for her. And so Jordan starts praying over her and kind of leads it. He's up on the platform in this small chapel with a microphone. And so we're all praying, and I start getting these visions in my head of like Jesus casting down demons into the gates of hell and all this stuff. It was like really vivid. And we're watching as this happens, and then she starts like prophesying over somebody. And then like a couple of minutes later, as we're about to leave, it was like, this was super last minute, but thank God we did, because she gets up and like runs to the front of the chapel. A literal divine, like out of the book of Acts, miracle.
Wow.
She was wheelchair bound for 6 months, having seizures, didn't want to do this anymore. We prayed over her. She got up and walked. Like literally Jesus going, get up and take your mat and go. And it was like, I can't not believe anymore. I've seen with my own eyes, I've tasted and seen the goodness of God. And it was like, because of this, I now have a testimony that I can share with other people here. And it shows that miracles still happen to this day.
It's like, that's good stuff.
She was running around.
And it's so hard to believe.
Yes.
I'm sitting there going, well, maybe, no. But to you, you're like, no, I saw it.
Bro, she was running around with her friends. She was literally just like, let's go run. She was just so overjoyed. She had been able to run for months. She goes, hey, let's go run through the field. So they're running. It was such a cool image. She was, she left her wheelchair like on the side of the sidewalk, and they were like running over the hills. And she, her dad was there, and her dad was crying. They called her mom, but it was just like, what a powerful testimony that I can now share because I've seen it, and I can tell other people that divine healing still happens to this day.
Isn't that the same as, why the Gospels are written, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? They're
Absolutely.
Basically
it's sharing a
testimony of what they saw.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. I mean, if you read the very beginning of 1 John, it opens very similarly to the Gospel of John. It kind of what we have seen with our own eyes, what we have spoken here with our lips, what we're writing with our words is, testimony of the light. And, John really liked to use this very flowery language, but he had this way of expressing what he had saw. And he said here, again, kind of like how the Gospel of John opens. It says, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, we have seen with our eyes, we have looked at, and our hands have touched, this we proclaim concerning the word of life. The life appeared, and we have seen it and testify to it, and we proclaim to you the eternal life, which was with the Father and has appeared to us. We proclaim to you what we have seen and heard, so that you may also have fellowship with us. And so he's basically saying here, we have a testimony, and we're going to share it concerning Jesus Christ and the life of God, so that you may have fellowship in this same belief as us. And the whole point that we're trying to get across here is it's like, go out and live the Christian life.
Get you a testimony.
Go get you a testimony. If you live the Christian life, if you go on, a mission trip, or if you just serve at your church, if you pray for people, if you surround yourself with that long enough, eventually you will come upon things such as, Chris's story or my story, whether or not it's like we prayed for somebody and they got up and walked, or if it was like over the course of 2 years, God delivered us. And through this long stretch of time, kind of like an Exodus story, God was through it, weaved into it through the whole story.
Look at it, and he's running out of words, and so
I'm trying to fill the void of space here.
Well, I'm just, I'm going through, I keep on telling, I'm going through Ephesians, and I'm trying to memorize it, but obviously...
How's that coming?
Obviously, it's not coming. I'm remembering the verse, but it was like in verse 2:10, it says, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. And it just talks about God's got a plan for you to do these good things. Then to be, and so to get a testimony, you just want to walk out God's plan for you.
Yeah.
And be the person that God's created you to be. Along with not being afraid to give an answer for what's going on. Like the Gospels, go back to that. You have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and they were willing to die for that. I mean, they weren't, they did.
They did. So, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So they died for. So here's this thing that I can't convince you now that God doesn't heal anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That's off the table.
You can't tell me anything to say that God is not a miracle worker in any capacity. Because I've seen one of the craziest examples of it already. It's like I said, I can't not believe now. And that's the point of a testimony, is now I share this. I mean, for my own personal sake, I have a stronger faith in God, but now I need to go, and it says in the devotional here, it is our job to then go and share that, to strengthen the body of the church.
Which then you get more testimonies of what God's doing.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like financial. For years, we were struggling, and we were like, okay, God, we're going to believe it. You can't tell me, you cannot tell me that tithing doesn't work.
Right. That's right.
They'll go, why is that? Because when I started tithing, we were on unemployment, and we were getting $127 a week in unemployment. It's true.
Goodness.
And that's all. That's the only income we had, and we weren't savers.
No, yeah.
And we lived with grandma, so and I couldn't. I couldn't cut the money out from her mattress with her sleeping on it.
Right. Yeah. Be very quiet. Shh. Take the money,
Grandma. No, this is not happening. These are not the drones you're looking for.
You ever read that little short story, The Telltale Heart?
No.
Edgar Allan Poe. Never mind. It's a pretty cool story.
Oh,
but yeah,
send it to me.
Yeah.
Text it to me.
I will text it to you. Yeah. I won't email it to you.
So anyway, so we were making one, and we were having this. We're new believers, and I said to Joyce, I think we're going to tithe. She's like, I ain't giving $12 to church. That's like that's a good portion of our grocery money.
Right.
The most of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's not like we can't. It's not, we don't have enough money anyway. So we gave $12.
Okay.
We've never only made $127.
Yeah.
A week. And it's never been the same.
Right. Yeah. And here you are.
Now, was it overnight? Now, there's times that I wasn't faithful.
Yes.
There wasn't that I wasn't a good steward, and we got ourselves in trouble. Mm-hmm. But we were still making money. I was making money. I was just spending it faster.
Right. Yeah.
And giving it away faster than I was making.
Right.
But that was a lesson for another day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it was another testimony of, okay, wait a minute. Okay, God, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2005, we had a crash. Okay,
yeah.
Another testimony.
Yeah.
2005, I retired from the fire department. Mm-hmm. Everything's going good. Oh, wait a minute. They pulled our health care. You don't get it covered anymore. $1,000 a month.
No.
I was giving money away like I was a drunken sailor to God. So I guess that probably doesn't line up.
No, yeah, but
I was like giving sacrificially, but I wasn't living sacrificially. Mm. We ended up in trouble, big trouble. And it was a $1 million lesson that I wouldn't give you a dime for.
Right. That's a good, again, write that one down. That was a good one.
So all that being said is that I would always have a credit card, and I would use credit. I could have $1,000 in cash in my pocket.
Yeah.
And we walked into some place and it was like $45. I'd use a credit.
Use the credit card. Yeah.
I'm like, because I grew up poor.
Yep.
That cash may not be there. Mm-hmm. Credit card,
yeah.
Never had it anyway.
Yeah.
So I had no concept in credit card.
Right.
Well, during that time, God did a work in my life, and went through a bunch of different classes and tried to figure it out. And since that day in 2005, we've never had a credit card debt since that. I mean, we use a credit card, but the rule is if you can't pay it off every month, then you shouldn't have it.
Yeah, what are you doing? You're just going to pay more.
The interest rate's like 29.99%.
29? What kind of credit cards are you signing up for?
Well,
holy cow.
I got one. My Costco card is amazing.
You have one credit card?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, same here. So
yeah. So, but we've always paid off the balance every single month.
Yeah.
And don't have money problems anymore.
Hey.
Go figure.
Just remain faithful in what you got now.
And so but because of that, I have a testimony of saying, no, I'm going to do the right thing, and then God turned around and restored everything that we lost. I mean, everything.
Yeah. That's how he works. And again, I was saying this before we recorded the podcast. I hear stories like this of just people's personal testimonies or like this divine miracle. I was at the airport on the other side of the world and I ran into this person I'd been praying for and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Like nothing surprising. You hear when somebody shares a really good sermon in like especially a youth auditorium at like the Collective, somebody will land on this really big reveal and you'll hear the people go, wow, that's so wow. And for me, I'm just like, yeah, that's how God works. At this point, I'm not even surprised anymore. Of course, he provided exactly what you needed for your car insurance to the dollar amount. It's like, of course, you met this person you've been praying for. Of course, you had this song come on at this certain time. It's like, yeah, because that's how God works. Because I've seen it in my life so much.
Of course, Joyce was drunk and decided to say yes to go out with me.
Yeah, right. Thank God she did, because here we are. If she hadn't, we wouldn't be here.
Yes. Well, we would be here.
Well, yeah, I would be here.
We wouldn't be married. And
right. You might not be in Florida and we might not have the podcast.
Yeah.
But there you go.
But you would be existing.
I would exist. Yeah. Okay. If you hadn't, I probably would still exist. If that brings you any comfort. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of our podcast.
Yes. Sorry, we went off a little bit there.
That's fine. We learned.
Get a testimony, man.
Get a
testimony because there's nothing better. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to be more organized. As Dan was afterwards.
Who cares?
Well, you guys need some help. But
who cares?
If you read biographies of some of the great Christians, it's basically a testimony of what God did.
Yeah.
My favorite is George Mueller. If you ever get a chance to read George Mueller's testimony or biography, it's amazing. If you have a doubt in what God can do for someone that's believe and trust God,
right,
He can use you too. So get a testimony. Ask God. Say, I need a testimony.
Yeah, and He will provide. Ask and you will receive.
And don't be afraid to share it, because people
absolutely
really do want to hear it.
Yeah, especially people that are down and out and need some help. That's what we're here for.
Right.
To share what we have.
Yeah. Don't be embarrassed.
That's good.
My kids were, they're cool with it now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they like give you approval to share?
Oh yeah,
this?
my kids are worse than me, man. It's the Meekins curse. It's like, yeah.
Guess what happened to this guy down the street? They're like, what are you sharing my life for?
We'll see ya.
See you next week. Peace.